All right, we've got a little bit of show and tell today, like some little parts I found that we never did talk about. And then I think what I'll do most of the time, today anyway, is we'll actually work on building the Rook 2020. I've got a bunch of the parts laid out here, and we'll just start doing that. Let's look at some of the show and tell stuff first, and then we'll look at the Rook pieces. So, well, there's actually some of the Rook pieces. These are the little keycaps we made last time. Remember I made, I was missing a minus key on my keyboard. And so we made 5. One of them's actually on the keyboard. But we made we went and downloaded a keycap from, I can't remember, I think it might have been Cults 3D. I'm not sure where we got that one. And then Thingiverse, we've got a little, we'll have to get closer to see it. Got a little Lego gear, and we went to Mesh Mixer and put them together. So it wasn't just a blank keycap. So the downloaded keycap was just blank. And they all printed well. I printed one at the normal size, one 1% larger, one 2% larger, one 1% smaller, one 2% smaller. I think the one I have on the keyboard is actually the default size, so not larger or smaller. But they all worked. They all came out really well. It is not quite the same shape as the keys that I already have on there, so it doesn't perfectly match. I mean, it definitely fits and it doesn't have any problems. It just doesn't quite match. I'm looking at it right now. Maybe I can get y'all over there. It's going to be hard to, let's see. There it is. Oh, there it is. Well, it's kind of, so it's a LED backlit thing, so it's going to glow, so you don't really get to see it much. But it does fit there, and that worked plenty fine. And so we did that, and that was actually, those were resin prints, kind of the default settings, no special settings over there. But they all did work pretty well. I don't, if they were FDM prints, we would have trouble getting the little raised detail to show up. But I don't know if you'll be able to see because it's such fine tiny little details. I probably can't get you close enough to where you can resolve them on the camera, but there you can kind of see it printed even the little gear teeth on the sprocket gear there, spur gear, and it all works fine. So now I have 4 extra ones because I printed those out. That's one of the good things with resin printing. Now I did use material, so I did use up some resin, and the way I oriented them used up some support. But it didn't take any extra time. So I could have printed, I don't know, 20 or 30 of them at one time, and it would have been the same amount of time, just more material used. So that's one of the good features of resin printing. It took 2 hours, an hour and some number of minutes, close to 2 hours. And we could have printed all of, 20 to 30, however many would fit on the bed all at once. So that I like about resin printing. The detail is really great. I like that about resin printing. These were not terribly hard to clean up. If you have the wash and cure station set up, then it really is just kind of get them off of the build plate. Actually, there's some stations where you can put the whole build plate in there. This one I have to scrape them off of there and then wash them and cure them. It's pretty simple, or it's less messy rather. If you're trying to do it by hand, which when the resin printers started coming out by for consumer level at first, it was all by hand. It was very messy. This is at least less messy. So we did that. Let's see, what else do I have? Oh, I have this. I'm not going to use this on the Rook printer, but when I was digging through my parts, I thought, well, we'll show this thing off in case you ever run across one. This is a bed level sensor. So I guess I can turn it where it's right, which way is right side up to you, that way. Where we did the BL touch, actually I think we may have done the CR touch, but we put a bed level sensor. It is a BL touch. We put one on our ender here, and it's a mechanical sensor, so it actually goes and probes, touches the bed. This is an inductive sensor, so it senses the bed only if the bed is metal. So it can't sense like a glass or plastic or something like that. And sometimes the glass bed will work if it's thin enough and you're actually detecting the aluminum plate underneath there. But these show up. So if you ever see one of these, on a printer. It is a bed sensor. It's more of a proximity sensor. They have some issues on, they don't actually have to touch the bed, so sometimes that's nice, but they have some issues on temperature affecting the reading, and even humidity can affect the reading, so they have to be compensated for. You don't see them, or I don't see them as much. I think Prusa uses a version, not this one, but they use a version of a non-contact bed sensor, and they do compensate for at least temperature. I don't know if they compensate for humidity, but that's what these little sensors are. I'm not going to put one on the Rook 2020. It's got like 100mm square bed, and there's really no reason to do any kind of mesh leveling on something that small. So it won't go on there. I just found it and thought we hadn't talked about it, so show that one. I also found this guy. These are pretty handy if you are using like a Raspberry Pi. So Raspberry Pi doesn't have an on-off button, and maybe you're using one for Clipper or something like that, and you have to unplug it to turn it off and plug it back in to turn it on. Well, these, they will. Now this particular one is the older, not USB-C. So you do have to make sure that, because some of these are USB-C, so you have to make sure that the USB part plugs into what you're trying to power. But here it gives you an on-off switch for something like a Raspberry Pi that doesn't normally have one. So those are pretty handy. This particular one is a Pi switch, so it actually is made for the Pi, but it could power, or well, it doesn't power anything. You supply it power. It basically plugs in where the cable that would normally plug your Pi in, you plug into this thing and plug this end into your Pi, and then you have a on-off switch. So it will make things a lot easier if you're turning some electronic that doesn't have power switches like the Pi. It's an easy way to do that, and it's a nice switch. So I found that. Oh, I did find these. At one time, I thought we might go in and change out the wheels on our Ender 3, and I still might, because at least the wheels on the X carriage, so the part that holds the printer head, they're beginning to wear. Actually, I can see them like shedding material. So you can get replacement polycarbonate wheels. So maybe we'll put those on. I don't know. At some point I might. They won't go on the Rook because it doesn't use V-wheels at all. It uses rails and belts. So we won't need these for the Rook, but I did find them in the box of parts. So thought I'd show those off as a thing you might consider someday. And then I remembered that we do have another project we never finished. We never went, and we can zoom out some. We never went back and modeled this. We did a scan of it, or at least a partial scan of it one time, but we never went and actually did the recreating the part. So this one is not broken. This is a light cover switch for an older car. So it's probably brittle, but they don't make replacement ones because, you know, it's a 40-year-old car or whatever, and it's not a popular enough car to have that particular product as a thing you can go buy. So we're going to scan this, go into probably Fusion 360, recreate it in CAD, and then modify it to where we can print it. Probably FDM print. We might resin, maybe we could resin print it. We could at least try that, I suppose. Maybe with one of the tougher resins. Some of the resins are even translucent, so we could make a kind of see-through one. We might try that first instead of FDM printing. But the problem with resin printing a technical part is that it's sometimes difficult to get your dimensions correct. So you do end up having or I have always ended up having a harder time getting technically correct dimensions from resin printing. It's actually easier to do in FDM printing. These keycaps, even you can tell where they are a little bit out of square. They're not perfectly square on the bottom and things like that. The little receiver for the pin of the switch though did work, but there's not a whole lot that can go wrong. You just press it on there. This one I would wonder if we would get the edges smooth, or well, the gap that this edge forms with the rest of the car, if we get it right or not. But we'll try and print one. But we have to model a CAD thing, so that'll be next week. We'll do that next week. What we're going to do today, and if you're not interested in watching me assemble stuff, then once I start that process, just whatever, we're going to talk about the Rook over here, and then it might be that you can find some other stuff to do. But let's see, this is what we're building. Oh, wait, one other thing. While I was looking for the Rook files, I found this. This is actually really cool. It's like a model kit that you would get, it's all on a sprue and everything. In this case, the sprue is kind of unnecessary, other than the fact that it keeps the smaller parts kind of located. But the sprue itself, if you're injection molding, is how the plastic gets into the mold and connects everything together. Plus, it's a model kit, so you don't have loose pieces floating around. They're all connected together. But anyway, this one's a printable model kit, so I might try printing this. This is on printables also. It's kit card plain final version. And it looked like a fun print to try out. But now onto the Rook. So this is what we're building. I have collected, I think, all of the pieces, maybe minus a fan and power supply. I did identify this guy. This is what we're going to use for a power supply. So 6 amp, 24 volt. Looks like this was actually for LED light strips, but the 6 amps and 24 volts is what we need. It's $16. That's probably what we're going to use for our power supply. And I have to order that, so I don't have that. I do have another, like a PC power supply, but I'd rather not use that if I don't have to. So if you noticed on the camera when we were looking at the other parts, there were a bunch of little aluminum extrusions. So we have all of those cut. They are, I don't know how long they are. Oh, you'll just see how long they are. They look like maybe they're, 200 millimeters each. Oh, I guess maybe it's, yeah, right here, 200 millimeters. 2020 aluminum extrusions. Now, there is a version of this that uses some rods, like round rods. This one does also for guiding the bed up and down, but there's another version that uses rods for all of the vertical pieces, and then uses printed parts for the top and bottom. I've actually printed most all of those parts. It's in my office though, so I can't show it right now, but I don't know. I went to this one. The downside to the all printed version is that you don't have as much adjustment. Here, I can adjust a little bit, which is good and bad, so if you don't need adjustment, then I'd rather not have it. But I suspect I'll need some adjustment, and so the way these are assembled, I'll have the ability to adjust squareness a little bit. So we were going to build this one. It's going to end up being very similar to a little Voron V0 at this point, which I built a year or two ago. I don't actually remember. It was one summer, so I have some older videos about building that guy. And it's a cool printer too. I actually used a kit for it though. This one I didn't use a kit. There is a kit. Where's it at? I have it up here. Here it is, Fabrico. They actually make a kit. Now, not of the same one we're building. This is the printed version. So see, they've got a printed top, printed bottom, and they're using rods for the vertical pieces. So you can get this. It cost, what does it cost? $300. That's actually not bad for assuming it comes with a board, which I think we looked at this before, and it does have a board. I just had a hard time seeing where it was in here. There it is, SKR Mini E3. That's what we're going to use on ours. So if you wanted to build one of these, and it looks like it uses a PC power supply. I can see the edge of it there. So you're kind of at the point now. We've done most of the class, and you're at the point where what do you want to do with 3D printing? Never do anything with it again? That's fine. You go that route. Kind of just want to do the printing side. Then you have a printer that probably works. I assume it works. And you're getting decent prints out of it. If you want a little bit better printer, maybe you can spend some more money and get one of the Bamboo Lab printers or the new Creality. I can't remember the name of it, but the faster high-speed printers. Those are, I don't know, $800 to $1,000. But they're really nice machines. You could go that route if you wanted to spend some money, but just do the printing side. But you might be in the, interested in the technology side. If you're in that category, build in one of these printers, even if you build it from a kit. So the kit doesn't really save you anything other than this one will print the parts for you, so you don't have to try and figure out printing the parts. But the biggest thing it does is it sources all the parts. So all these little nuts and bolts and pulleys and belts and all the little rods, everything that you have to go find, it does that for you. And generally, and with this price, $300, that's probably cheaper than what you would end up with if you went and sourced all these parts. Now, I had a bunch of these parts from years of having printers. So it was cheaper for me just to go dig around in some bins and find the parts that I need and buy the few things I didn't have. But if you're thinking about building a printer, something like one of this kit for the Rook, or let's see if they have the Voron V0 kit. Let's see, FormBot. That's the one that I used. It's the lower end, same-ish price to build a Voron V0. So it is a very similar printer. It's enclosed, which this Fabrico version of the Rook 2020 is not enclosed. But the idea of them being small, so they both have the 100 square millimeter bed size and fast. They both use a Core XY motion system, and they're both kits. So either one of those, I will say the Voron probably has a larger community around it. If you have questions about, you get stuck on something, it certainly has a better documentation on building it. So it has a very thorough build manual. You can look at it. You can go to search for Voron V0 and go to the actual Voron site, and you can look at the assembly instructions. They're very, very thorough. So both of those would be good options if you wanted to build one. Now, if somehow you're like me and you've got a whole bunch of parts, then yeah, go ahead and source, print your own pieces for the for this guy, and buy the couple of pieces you don't have and print one of these. It's a good experience to really build one from scratch if you want to go that route of more of the technology itself. There's a lot of good stuff to learn. So let's close down some windows. I'm getting too many things open. That's the power supply. Actually, I'll leave that one open because I need to buy that. This is the bill of materials for the Rook 2020. So if you source them yourself, $300-ish, but that's not including the shipping from all the different vendors that, they try to get most of these from AliExpress. I don't think I ordered, maybe a few things from there, but most of the stuff I either had or ordered from Amazon. So it did cost a little more on the stuff I did buy, but I just had most of it. Let's see what we have here. Oh, this is the introduction video. This is what we'll end up with, something like this, from the guy that designed it. So if you're interested in seeing more about the actual printer in action, he sits here and watches it print for a while and discusses his idea on why he built or designed this particular printer. What do we have here? This is the printable site where we got all our parts. So there are these pieces you have to print or buy a kit that, well, actually this one doesn't have a kit, I don't think. I don't think the kit is for this version of it. The kit is for the one with the rods, not the 2020 extrusion. This one's actually a decently easy print. None of the pieces are too large for even an Ender 3. I think actually every one of these pieces can be printed on a Rook. So if you had a Rook, you could use it to print parts for another Rook. Because even the bed here, the bed support is divided into 3 pieces where each one could fit on the tiny little bed for a Rook. Let's see. I need this picture because I don't know if there are any assembly instructions. So we're basically going to look at the picture, look at our parts, and put stuff together. There might be some instructions somewhere. I just haven't found them. There are instructions for the other version of the Rook, the one with the rails, or not the rails, the rods. but I couldn't find instructions for the 2020. We need to print this part still. This is the actual hot end carriage, and I have not printed that, so it'll look like this guy. Our colors are going to be kind of all over the place because I was going to dye ours, but it didn't take as well as I wanted it to, and I'm just going to assemble it. I'm tired of waiting on assembling it, so we're just going to assemble it. If I ever want to, I can replace the individual printed parts one at a time with colors, or I could paint them, or just leave them the way they are. So we do have to print this also. Let's see. Based on this, let's go over here. So one thing with building your own printer, and even with buying a cheaper kit printer, is that the better that you can get things square, then the better your printer is going to be. So in this case, we're building something that one of the reasons you build a Core XY printer is to have a faster printing speed. So if I have things all out of square and it's skewed one way or another, then I'm not going to have a good experience printing high speed. I can get it to print at a lower slow speed, but I'm definitely going to have problems at a high speed. So I don't have here a surface plate to like square everything in. I think this little table would probably just crush if I put a surface plate. They weigh like 100 pounds or whatever for a larger one, maybe more than that for some of the larger ones. So we're going to use this tabletop, which is, I mean, it's not far from, it's not surface plate quality of flatness, but we're also dealing with printed parts, which are not going to be anywhere near surface plate flatness. I do have a little machinist square here that we'll use to at least try and square the extruded aluminum parts. But most of it's going to be assembled with things like this. So let's get in a better position here. Something like maybe that. Get some stuff out of the way. So these are pretty neat if you're using the extruded aluminum type pieces. Then these are made, these are from Ziltech. These are made to slot into the, oh, about to lose a set screw. They're made to slot into here, although this one's having trouble. Uh-oh. We have a slight, oh, because I was putting it on the wrong side. So they're made to slot in here, and then you can use these set screws to adjust where they're going to end up. So I do have some amount of adjustment with this. So I do like that part. But it makes assembly really quite easy. And they make different configurations. This one's a 3-way, so it'll make a corner. You can see it. We can kind of see the piece of it. Let's see over here. See if we can, down here in this corner, you can kind of see where some of it is holding this piece, and this vertical piece together with one of the feet underneath it. This printer, I do not think uses heat set inserts. I had some up here. Let's see. Maybe I've moved them. I don't see them currently. But what they do is they provide metal threads for plastic parts. So I wish I could find them to show you what they look like. But they're generally brass pieces that are threaded on the inside, and then they have some knurling around them to sink into and grab plastic. I know I just had some, and now they have gone somewhere else. Well, this printer doesn't use those, I don't think. The other one, the Fabrico kit, it extensively uses those. They're actually really good tools to have in your set of stuff if you're doing a lot of 3D printing and assembling, because they will give you actual machined metal threads that you can put something together and then take it back apart, and put it together and take it back apart. If you do that too many times and you're using just plastic threads, then there's a good chance those threads are going to wear out over time, but these won't. But this printer does not use those. This printer uses things like this, this kind of setup. It looks like that, along with these. So the little T-nuts that'll slide into the slots of the aluminum. So we have those, and hopefully we have enough fasteners. We might need to get some more fasteners. I'm not sure I have exactly the right number of the right types of fasteners, so we'll see how far we go. All right, let's start. My plan first is to build this bottom frame over here. Now it does, I do see one part that I don't have. I don't have these little rubber feet, and it might be that we need those because the way the Z-axis works on this one is you can can I zoom in? I can zoom out. I can't really zoom in. So down here, there's a stepper motor with a pulley on it. That pulley is going to have a belt around here. There's an idler up at the top, and that belt is going to raise and lower the bed here. So I kind of think the bracket for this is going to extend below the feet, so I'm going to need some spacers basically, and I don't have those right now. So we'll see. Let's build this bottom frame and see where we go. So let's lay out what we've got. We're going to need 4 like this. So there you can kind of start to see the size of the printer. So that's going to be the footprint of the printer. It'll be no bigger than that. There's nothing really that, I guess if you hang, I think the board, we're going to use the SKR Mini E3 version 3. It's going to be off the back a little bit. So technically it'll be a little bit deeper than this. Or if you put a spool of filament, I don't think I mount the spool to this little printer, but that spool will have to go somewhere, so that'll take up some space also. But let's see. This is gonna do something. Actually, I have 2 that I want to use for the sides over here. I'm using these 2 because they're cut slightly differently. So all the others are cut much better than those 2. So I want to put them on the sides at the bottom where I can kind of keep them adjusted differently. So let's see. This is going to go here, here, and we will use a piece here. So that's going to be one corner. Let's go ahead and put some of our set screws in here before I lose them. They're rolling all over the table here, and so I'm afraid I'm going to lose them if I don't go ahead and get them started. All right, and so also when you tighten these set screws, just tightening them is going to cause this piece, it's kind of off the screen here. Let me zoom back. This piece, it's going to adjust, if I loosen this, it's going to adjust where it lands at. So you have to be careful with, don't just tighten everything down at once. Because, actually you would rather tighten it all at once. So don't tighten one thing and move to the next thing and tighten another thing, because you'll get things out of square for sure that way. So get everything kind of tight, or at least touching, and then go back and try to get everything as square as you can. Let's get our other 2 before they roll away on us. This stuff is nice to use, the extruded aluminum, because there are a lot of pieces like these triple 3-way corners that you can get to make assembly easier. You can print all sorts of pieces that help with assembly and attaching things to it. So it's a good system. They aren't all 20/20. 20/20 refers to the cross section. So 20 is 20 millimeters by 20 millimeters. So you have 20/40, 40/40, 20/20. A lot of times people would just generically call it all 20/20, even though only these pieces are 20/20. The other pieces would be different sizes. And so technically they should have a different name. you know, I think he might, it's hard to tell on here. There might be some corner brackets. Let me check in our parts, printed parts, and see what we've got. Got some feet. They are these corner brackets. These are with the hole in them. I know those are going to go towards the back side where the smooth rod for the Z-axis is going to be. So I don't see. Let's get our feet. There's 3 of the feet. Did I not print a fourth? No, there's the 4th foot. We've got all the feet. And I do not actually, okay, and there's the other one of these for the back. But I don't see any for the front. So we could take this same file if we wanted to, and I think we could use it on the front side as a corner straightener if we wanted to. But I don't think there are any files. Actually, I need some more of these, I think, because I need some for the top also. I may have not printed those. Yeah, I think I need to print 2 more of these also. So I need to keep a list of what all I need. I think I need 2 more of these for the top. That's what it looks like. All right, let's put some more pieces on here. So we need another one of our little 3-way connectors. Here's another bag. It's hard to get open. Okay, get rid of these little bags. So we'll end up with a piece there. You know what? Now I've turned it around, because originally I had this way, and I wanted to use a particular piece over here, which I actually put on the top. I don't want that. No, wait. That's the way I had it. Okay. There we go. This is the, yeah, this is the other piece I want over here. It probably, they're close enough that it probably doesn't make a huge difference, but since these 2 pieces, this piece and the one that's right over here, since they were cut differently, I'm going to keep them on the same side of each other, or, well, parallel to each other. For a while, it's going to all look the same, right? Because we're just building a box, basically. This piece is having some issues. A little bit off the camera. I need more room on my table. Well, that piece is going to go there. So we're going to put this guy in. I need some way to mark the front so that I don't keep getting it mixed up on what I intend for the front to be. It doesn't particularly matter, but I'd like to have it a certain way. Just take that off of there. So it assembles pretty quickly. I don't know how long it's going to take to get square though. That could be quite challenging, or maybe it's really simple. So now we've got that. Now we'll put this piece on here. We'll need 2 of those 3-way pieces. See if I can get, there we go. There and there. Some of our belt is in there, that bag. So this one's going to use belts to drive the XY motion and the Z motion. It's all going to be belt driven. and it's going to run Clipper. I'm not 100% sure where I'm going to get the firmware to drive it all. I'm not sure where he has that posted. I know that some of the stuff was in like a Google Drive, and so maybe he's got a repository on GitHub or somewhere that I can use to have a start on the firmware for it. I don't know about that. Hadn't thought about that till I was thinking ahead of this next things we need to do. At some point, we're going to need some firmware to run this thing, and not 100% sure where it's at. Okay. Now let's put this corner on, and check our time. Oh, we've got some more. We might get, I don't know. We can get some of this stuff done until I either don't have a piece I need or we run out of time, which I'm not sure what'll happen. Let's see, it looks like the top does not use the little three-way brackets. It looks like it uses printed brackets, which I do have printed. So we'll have to look at that. Okay. That was not good because what just fell was one of our little set screws. I do have others, but which I may have to borrow one for the time being. It might take me a while to find the one that went down here. I don't immediately see it, so we will borrow one from another set. And I have to look closer. I just don't want to do it right now. Okay, get back in there. It goes here. Yep. Where'd it go? Well, maybe oh no, it goes up here. I was looking at the wrong. There we go. Alright, so we've got our base little frame. Let's see if we're anywhere near. Yeah, see? We've got a good bit, I don't know if you can tell or not, but it's a good bit of skewness there, but it's, you know, it's relatively easy to pull these things in. And we might need to put the top on before things will hold better. Because there's a little bit of out of square there. That corner is actually pretty square. I think it could be this piece right here. Let's see if we can. That's actually pretty square. That is close, but not square. Also there. Yeah, so these two are a little bit, they need to skew, I think it was, I don't remember which way it was, but they need to skew one way or the other. But let's put the top pieces on. Let's see. Those are printed. Well, so yeah, we've got this piece and this piece, and these two I had to print in a different material, so they're a little bit different color. So let's see. These are going to house, this little gap in here is going to house the these are the idler sides of the pulley, so it's just going to be a pulley, and I'm not 100% sure what he is using for his pulley stack. I do have these. Which we can use these back to back. Do I have enough of them? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have 10 of these. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then where would the others need to go? 5, 6, 7. I think I need 8. And I think if I put these one on top of the other, then that will be our idler pulleys for going in here and going on the carriage itself. So let's see what we've got. So it's going to do something like this, and here it's going to go. Oh, that's really short. Oh, because I don't have the feet on it. So we're going to do something like that. So these are going to be held in with these guys. So these kind of things. So I think it's probably going to be a matter of back and forth on assembling these things. Let's see. The right size. Oh, you know what? I need to know what size screw I'm going to use in these holes. I have these guys. So these do not need to be long. The shortest I have here are M3, 4, and 5 by 10. That could be too long, possibly. Let's see. Maybe not. Let's go with. Let's see in his. Oh, I don't have his. I don't have his bill of materials. Let's see. Maybe we can tell by the bill of materials what's he's using M3. Oh, okay, cause look here. So he's got his bill of materials. Make it bigger, and he's telling us here M3 by whatever. Oh, I don't have some of these sizes. I don't have 6. I don't think I do. I do have these. Let's see. These are, yeah, I do have M3 by 6. They're just a different color. They're going to be in this little box. Let's see. This is going to be, is this the XY carriage idlers? That's going to be basically the shaft for the idler pulleys that we're going to build. So those M5 by 25. Actually, that's the carriage idlers. We might be talking about the front idlers, which are M5 by 30. I don't have 30. We may have to round those up. Let's see. But what will this be? M5 by 8 for the frame. Let's see. M5 by 8 for the frame. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 there. He said there were 30, 16 M5 10 by 1 by 10 by 1 by 50 pieces. Oh, that's just this part here. Okay. I think he's probably using the M5s here. 12 millimeter or M3s for rail mounting, motor mounts. That's going to be determined by the motor itself. So I think he's using M5s. And then the length of these are going to be M5, I don't know, they're going to be shorter, probably the 10s. All right. So with that, M5 is just really big. So M5 is a big chunky screw. Let's see if those even kind of work in there. They do kind of work. They're a little bit tight, but I think we can. They're tight because the holes here are, you know, printed holes, so they're not perfect. I need a bigger Allen wrench. Too big. That size. All right, so that, if we use the M5 by 10s, that looks like it will go far enough without bottoming out. Oh wow, it's like super close to bottoming out. Okay, we'll use that. So that means we need the M5 sized T-nuts over here. So let me get a couple. I don't have that many of these M5s by 10s. I might need another box of fasteners, which can't have too many fasteners when you're building stuff like this anyway. Because even on a, I've used these on a regular, you know, printer where something's missing or I'd lose it, or like I lost that set screw. It doesn't hurt to have a set of metric screws around with the 3D printers, because pretty much all the screws are metric. Actually, all of them on the Creality stuff is metric, and most of the other printers use metric also. So it doesn't hurt to have some of those extra. So this little kit is a good one for that purpose. So this is a variety M3, 4, and 5, and the nuts that go with them in different lengths. So this is a decent kit. I got it from Amazon. All right, so what I've been doing over here is I've started all of these so that we can hopefully get them in our rails here. These bags just have to open. Plenty of these, I think. Do not think we're going to run out of T-slots. So there's a couple of ways you can do these little T-slot things. You can try dropping them in here. The problem is they're going to slide all the way to the bottom. So a little bit easier way is just go ahead and screw them onto your screws here. Don't tighten it down. Just get them started so that they're not, you know, sliding all over the place. And then you can, this isn't where this goes, but you can slide them in like this, you know, like that. You can even get them, if you don't have an open end, you can even get them, turn them sideways and put them in, well, let's see, you might can see it better from there. Put them in like that from the front, even if you don't slide them in. The only thing with putting them in this way is when you go to tighten them, you do have to make sure they swing around and catch in there, because you can possibly tighten them and all you did is tighten this against here. So you do have to make sure that these swing around sideways when you put them in from the front like this. So I've got to get all these guys on here. I'm not saying that the way that we're putting this, the order we're putting this together, is going to be the correct order. We might have to undo some stuff. I don't know. We'll just have to figure that part out as we go. Like I said, I couldn't find, or I never did find, a set of assembly instructions. That might exist somewhere for this printer, but I didn't find it. So we're just basing it on what looks right. All right, so now I've got all of these little guys. And this, there's two of them here, and they're mirror images. So I do have to, at this point, I'm going to choose where the front is. These are going to go on the front. So I'm thinking we're going to do front here. So let's see if we can get all these things lined up the right way. Need a little bit more slack on this one. That one wants to turn on me. Might have to go that way. Not 100% sure what we're hung up on. If it's something with the print or something with the T-nuts. I think it's kind of a combination of both. One thing we may have to do is we may have to enlarge these holes in the printed part so that the screw can turn more freely. I think that's the issue we're having. So I can get it to go in there, but I don't think I'll ever get the T-nuts to sling around the right way. Yeah, it's tightening. See, this is what can happen is it's tightening, but it's not actually tightening on the channel. It's just tightening the T-nut against the part, the printed part, which is not what we want. So let's see. I might can just kind of get these loosened up, the screws loosened up by tightening them in the hole that they're trying to thread themselves into. The hole is a little bit undersized, and it's acting like threads basically, which I don't really want it to do. Okay. It's getting easier to put it together though, so that's good. We might even have to sometimes, so I'm having issues getting this, maybe we can do it this way. Having issues getting this T-nut to spin around. You can actually see it down in there. So sometimes you can go in and actually manipulate it with a thin enough tool. So like this one. And I can maybe get it to spin around in there. It's very close. I don't want to bend up stuff. See if we loosen it some. Just doesn't want to do exactly what I want it to do. It's close, but not exact. I might need a screwdriver. Oh, I do have a little screwdriver here, a tiny one. This one might work. All right. Another thing that I think is happening is that this hole is just ever so slightly off center from this slot, and so it's really having issues wanting to swing around in there. The other one, the one on the side here, is actually the way it should be. So we'll tighten that one a little bit. I don't know if we're lined up, but this other one's, it's really close and it'll be fine for now. There, actually, there it went. So be sure when you're tightening these, particularly if you're doing it blind like this one, then if you can look down in there and actually see the T slot or the T nut going perpendicular across the slot, that's what you want it to do. So, and we did get it to do that. Okay, now probably, let's see what time, yeah, I will put this guy over here. So these are the next steps. This guy over here, off the screen. I can't really zoom out far enough. I'll have to figure out a way to prop the camera up high enough so that we can put this one on, put the two on the back, and start building the top. And then I think I'll have enough to where I can try and get it square. But we're getting close on time. So I will work on that some more off screen. And we'll see where we're at on Monday. On Monday, what I do want to do, though, is I want to spend more time with our light cover. So Monday, we might look at the Rook 2020, but I don't plan on building any of it on the stream. Hopefully, I've actually built some between now and then. We'll see how that goes. But I do want to do this on the stream. So we need to scan this. We did a rough scan, but we'll get the Revo point out and do a better scan of it. Bring that scan into Fusion 360. Use some of the form tools, or at least some of the mesh tools, to create a CAD model that we can manipulate, put these features in, and then we'll try printing it. Oh, quiz 2. Yeah, that's a good question. I will open quiz 2 probably on Monday. There are a couple, 3 people I think, that need their grades done by Wednesday, I believe. But everybody, or maybe it's Tuesday. But everybody else will need their grades the following week. So there's plenty more time. But I'll open it up on Monday. I've got to add some new questions because, you know, that's one thing I've been thinking about too, not quiz 2, but the printers nowadays are getting to where you can get a really good printer for $200, $300 that you don't really have to do anything to. You can just unbox it, put it together, and then print. There's some troubleshooting you might have to do with, you know, why is it stringing or why is it clogging, things like that. But a lot of the stuff I used to do in the class just isn't quite as relevant as it isn't as relevant now as it used to be then when you had to build them kind of like we're building this guy. So there will also be a quiz, all of that to say there will also be a quiz 3, that the quiz 3 is really just a survey. So you can get it right and wrong only by not doing it. But it does count as a grade. And that quiz 3 is mainly going to ask questions about, well, what do you think would be more useful to have more of this, less of that, you know, that kind of thing, based on how you experience the class with your printer. So there will actually be a quiz 2 and a 3, but quiz 3 is a survey. Quiz 2 will open Monday. I could go ahead and open quiz 3 because it's not technical in any way. But quiz 2 will open Monday. All right. I'll work on this some more. I will be back Monday. We'll do some on this. And we'll see where we're at on the Rook. I would like to get the Rook printing before the last stream, which is, the last stream should be, I think it's Wednesday next week. I think it's Wednesday. So I think there's 2 more streams. And then we're done with the streams, at least the class streams. If I do any others they won't be related to the class. All right, see y'all